everyone, we are the team from Melbourne University, and today we're going to show you how, through a system of certification, separate listing, and random auditing, we are going to convince our friends, the wine growers and wine-making businesses, to share their data with One Australia. So I'm going to walk through our chosen target segment, our current solution, and the benefits of our solution. So we decided to choose the small wine businesses for a variety of reasons. First of all, most part of the wine businesses in Australia are small, medium-sized, and family-owned. Focusing on this portion of the segment would allow Wine Australia to gather the greatest amount of data. Secondly, because they are those more in need of differentiation. And finally, because the 5 greatest exporting markets for Australia are also requiring sustainability standards. And this would benefit both Wine Australia for the greatest amount of data, but also the small wine businesses who would have a clearer idea of their current situation in terms of costs and sustainability, and have higher visibility and possible higher profits. So I'm going to hand over to Siana, who is going to follow up.
Okay, thank you, Sheryl. So the current problem business have is something called status quo bias, which leads to wine producers and grape growers reluctant to change their current behaviors. And we can see this circle, this indicator here, it's more visible to us, which represent the current level, the current situation with a low level of reporting, and the indicator far away from us with a question mark represents the future benefits the company can get if they report data now. So the distance between them can lead to an over-discounting issue, and compared to the uncertain future gain, today's cost of changing as well, I think all of you sitting here knows, is more salient to us. And because of the salient heuristic, firms pay too much attention on avoiding current cost instead of the future gain they can get. So how can we weaken the salience of the status quo and make the future benefit more noticeable and more attractive? Here's what we think. So to achieve the long-term goal of the net zero carbon emission, Wine Australia has already set a clear short-term goal to collect firms' emission data. However, we think the short-term reward is unclear at the moment. So we believe the time gap between the time reaction and the time reward must be narrowed and shortened to avoid over-discounting. And to nudge the change, One Australia should provide business immediate and tangible rewards that is associated with the firm's main revenue-generating activities so that the reward is prominent and attractive to the business. By doing so, the perceived present value of gain can overweight the perceived present value of cost, and thus preventing the potential ambiguity avoidance experienced by firms in the industry. Yeah, so what I have introduced to you guys is more like a theoretical perspective. So I will introduce Gloria to talk about how can we apply it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our solution got 3 steps. The first 2 steps focusing on enlarging the current benefits will experienced by the wine producers in the industry, and the third step will focus on cost reduction side. I'm sure that you have, in previous team's presentation, you have already learned a lot about how to reduce the cost, but we are going to provide a new perspective. In the step 1 and 2, we want to build a certification system which rewards certificate to those who provide information, who submit their report. We want the barrier to certificate be lower so that it is easier for firms to break their current status quo. And the second step, we want to partnering with the retailers to set a separate section in their retail shops to display all the certified wines. This is to create values for those who are doing something good for our society. And this makes the reward more tangible and, as Siana mentioned, more relevant to revenue generating activities. And the third step, well, when I talk about the first step, some of you may doubt, well, if we give certificates to those who report, then how can we make sure that the data is accurate? So we still want the auditing to be in place, but we only randomly audit 10% of the total member per year. And the cost will be fully sponsored by Wine Australia using the revenue generated from the basic membership fee collected from all the members. And I will talk about, so that's the basic solution, and now I will talk about how to, the 3 keys to succeed. So firstly, we want to partnering with the large retailers. As we all know, they are the dominant, they dominate our wine industry. And by partnering with them, we can make sure that there is a quick implementation and the effect is large. And secondly, large retailers, they often located in more metropolitan areas, which is far away from the wine region, and they are closer to the customers who really want to buy into the new luxury, the sustainable product. And secondly, we want a separate listing. When talking to wine producers, our speakers yesterday, we really want to get an idea of why are they not entering the market, right? The large retail shops. And a common concern is that, well, if I enter a large retail shop, I have to be listed on a shelf that's, let's say, Riesling. I have to be listed with 100 other Rieslings from other brands. I have to compete on price, but I don't want to compete on price. I want to protect my own brand. So by having a separate listing, well, there's no price competition. All the price competition will be lowered. And we prevent over discounting because we know those who buy into new luxury, they are willing to pay a price premium. And also we protect their branding and help them to build reputation. And thirdly, it's about our random auditing. So random auditing, it ensures fairness and integrity. And also, well, in past research, we have demonstrated that the threat of being caught will actually deter firms from misreporting. And also, because we only random audit 10% of the members, then it is reasonable to believe that the cost can be fully covered. So that's our solution. And this is also reducing the cost for individual companies, which I believe they are willing to see. So that's the solution concept. My colleague, Callum, will introduce you with future benefits.
Cheers, thanks for that. The real barrier to farmers reporting is, as we said, there's nothing in it for them, and it's incredibly expensive. But we think our solution that we just proposed has a number of benefits. So research has shown, in especially international markets, that there is a premium willingness to pay above zero. So that basically means consumers are willing to pay more for wine that has these premium certifications like environmental, sustainability, and reporting. And we think that this will lead to have a diversification effect for Australian wine in the incredibly competitive international markets. And we think this is something that farmers will really entice farmers to do the simple 3-hour task of reporting their emissions. We also think that it changes the modern market preferences in Australia and the world are changing. So sustainable products searches online have increased 3-fold in Australia and 4-fold internationally. So there is a high demand for sustainably certified wine. And we think that this industry transition will make farmers and grape producers more competitive. We also, it'll have peak dialogue between industry bodies and growers. And we think having this data-driven, targeted approach towards addressing climate change is the only way that there can be net zero emissions in the agricultural and wine industry. And we think this is a great way to do it. And also clearing of excess inventory. A major issue that the industry is having is they can't clear stock enough. And by creating a whole new market segment, both domestically and abroad, is a great way to combat this issue in the industry. Thank you.